This is Transqat, a safe space to stand. Transgender issues, queer people, respectful conversations. I'm host Clare McCarthy. Welcome to Transqat. Welcome back, and happy Valentine's Day. Today's episode is audio only, but we're offering two different versions, one a little more tightly edited than the other. Last Friday, January 7th, photographer and friend of the show Sam Avery hosted an event entitled Love Out Loud. He was doing photo shoots with queer couples who would then record with me afterwards. Sam will be putting it all together in a forthcoming documentary project. What follows are conversations with 6 couples. Many thanks to Joe and Ed, Cameron and Kilder, Kelly and Jesse, Alexis and Chris, Cordelia and Sarah, and of course, Sam and Haley.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Ed.
We'll start with the controversial question. Is it true that all cubs get kissed?
It's been my experience that that's true.
Well, let's just put it this way. The bear community is a very touchy-feely,
very tactile community.
Community.
And demonstrative.
My family was not very demonstrative growing up. When I came out, that people were demonstrative, and of course, I didn't have a problem with that. So
he learned a new skill.
Let me go back to the cub thing for a second, though. How do you know that all cubs get kissed?
Well,
he's always...
I can only speak from experience.
He just throws himself out there.
Okay.
No. I don't throw myself out there. I just make myself known.
And he's very much an extrovert, and I'm very much an introvert.
How long have you been together?
24 years.
24 Memorial Day.
And you met, I understand, at a camp.
At a gay campground.
In Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania, gay men's campground, clothing optional, on Memorial Day weekend, when it tends to be a bit chilly, so it's more clothing required.
Yeah.
Very much so, especially down there. Sometimes it'll be 70, 75, 80 degrees.
And sometimes it can be 40.
Sometimes it'll be rainy and sleet.
The Connecticut Bear Organization used to host a yearly trip to Hillside on Memorial Day weekend. And I had been not part of the bear community. I had owned my own business, and I had been very single and very celibate for more than 10 years. And I closed my business, got a job, and got free time, which small business owners don't frequently have, and some extra pocket money, which small business owners also don't have. So I bought my first computer and I got online, and I met a few guys online who kept saying, you should join the Northeast Ursa. And so my way of joining was to drive 200 and some odd miles to the wilderness of Pennsylvania to see if I happened to be a bear and I fit the community. And I found Joe and a community at the same time.
24 years, obviously things have gone well for you guys, but in terms of the community, bears are someplace you feel comfortable?
We developed a strong circle of friends that have become family. They've been there for all of the important parts.
The first kiss
was that morning. He said I had to get kissed.
Had you met before that moment?
He says that when I arrived the night before and it was getting dark, and you have to set up a tent, and so several gentlemen in the gloaming jumped in to help me put up a tent. He says he was there, so I'll take him at his word. But as far as official meeting, it was that morning.
Our tents were about 5 or 6 tents away from each other.
And his didn't leak and mine did. So as the morning went on, it was kind of gray and rainy, and we all had breakfast and were sitting around. He said, I think it's a good afternoon for a nap. Rainy. And I said, well, I would take a nap, but my tent leaked last night. So he said, well, you could take a nap in mine. It was slick.
Not smooth, too.
So I thought it was an invitation to not nap. And he was very surprised because he was intended it to be a nap. It managed to eventually be nap.
I was a middle manager of the chemical company. And it tends to be a very stressful and a not particularly friendly organization. So getting away for the weekend was important for my sanity.
He was still decompressing. And I'm basically a succubus. So all those people, I was filled with energy and bouncing off the walls.
What keeps a relationship together for 24 years?
Well, love. But beyond that, there's a lot of work and perseverance and tolerance and acceptance and arguments.
We have enough interests in common that it keeps us together, working towards a goal. We work together. And we work together as a team. And he's the most talented man I ever met in my life. And he loves to entertain, and I'm tolerant of entertaining.
Well, he doesn't love people. He doesn't love crowds.
4 to 6 people around the dining room table is my comfort zone, and our party is between 40 and 60 people normally.
Oh, wow.
We have one of those a year. We have one really big party a year, which is my hobby for the year.
Okay.
Each is a party. But we also entertain throughout the year, and I fire on all cylinders for that. And he holds on for dear life.
You said that you work things together, but you mentioned arguments. That's a really important part of a relationship. So when you argue, how does that work? It's usually an argument over something stupid, which is a substitute for whatever we're actually worried about. And then it runs a typical course where we fall back on the perennial complaints. And then at some point, we both realize that it's gotten ridiculous. And one of us will say, I love you, you know. And then the other will say the same thing. Well, I love you too, you know. And then we'll
You're a grumpy old poop.
You're a grumpy old poop. Well, no, you're the grumpy old poop. And then we sort of slink off to a corner for a few minutes, and then we end up on the couch watching TV and holding hands. When you have someone who is as steadfast and resolute in their belief that they are right and that they and what they like and what they don't like and what they want to do and what they don't want to do, he can be moved the way that mountains can be moved slowly. But he's accommodating in the ways that I need him to be accommodating, and I'm accommodating for him. And we're both our individuals, and we both were older when we met each other. You know, I was 35 and he was 40. And so we were both already settled
we are settled in our ways.
And I think we're very lucky we met when we did, because we have friends who came out much later in life or were single until they were in their late 50s or 60s, and they have not been able to maintain a relationship because they had no more flexibility. They had made no room for anyone.
You just came from Sam's photo shoot, where the theme is a question in this cultural moment that we're in. What does loving out loud mean?
No apologies. No excuses. We are who we are.
We are who we are.
I've never been able to hide who I was. I could never. I didn't even know I was gay or understood my sexuality as gay until I got into college. But everyone around me just knew before me. My mother came out for me. She told me, I know you're gay, before I was comfortable telling anyone. Joe, on the other hand, was much older.
I was 28
and
when I came out. I basically had gone back to grad school. Part of the reason was I didn't like the way my career was headed, so I went from a bench chemist to a chemical engineer type of position. But part of that was also to come out, to explore my sexuality, where I didn't have to worry about that type of things. And basically, I ended up talking to my parents, and I said, this is not something that is easy for me. I understand you may not be comfortable with this, but this is who I am. And if you understand, fine. But if you're not, I'm 28. By the time I introduced Ed to them, this is Ed. He's important to me. I insist that you treat him just like you do your other sons-in-law and daughters-in-law. And
for the most part, they did.
For the most part, they did.
But back to your question, because I've never been able to be anyone other than myself, when I met Joe, I didn't act any differently in public than any straight person did. I was in love and I held his hand. It didn't matter where we went. I would kiss him in public. We fairly well known in the community that we live in, and when we moved into the house back in town, we moved into the town, East Haddam, where I grew up, and everyone instantly knew Ed's here with his boyfriend or his husband, at that point, his partner, his friend. And it was never an option for me to try to act straight or hide or what have you. I don't go out of my way it's not a gay pride parade every time I walk down the street, but that never seemed to matter. I could have been trying my hardest to look like a straight farmer, and I still stood out. And once we got together, he's with me, and so everyone knows. And for the most part, we were very much welcomed by lots of folks. It wasn't until Donald Trump was elected the first time, a young woman, Teresa Govert, who was I think she eventually became one of our selectmen, but she and her sister painted a big sign quoting, was it Sean King's, "If you are gay, bi, black, white, whatever, we see you, we love you, we welcome here." And she put up the sign, and that night somebody covered it in black paint and wrote Trump 24, and we were shocked and scared, and it wasn't the town I knew.
This has been wonderful.
Thank you for having us.
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
I hope
us.
we answered your question.
I apologize for the rather abrupt edit in that conversation. Ed schooled me on the queer history of East Haddam, where we both live. And it was fascinating, and it was stuff I had no idea about. I had to cut it for time, and that's why I decided to also release a fuller episode. So if you want to hear the story, and I strongly recommend you do, go listen to the longer version.
My name's Cameron. I'm here with my husband, Kilder. We've been married for a few years. We actually met in Brazil when I lived there. For a little while, that's where Kilder's from. And I'm a first-year, fifth-grade teacher here in Connecticut.
Kilder, did you grow up in Brazil? Or?
Yeah. I grew up there, and I never left the country until moved here to get married with Cameron. So it was a huge experience. We met each other there, and in 2019 and 2022, I moved here to get married. It was a huge experience, a huge changing for everything, the culture, the language. Everything new, the weather,
details. How did you meet? Who made the first move?
So I think for moves, I think I can be a little faster. We met on the app
Tinder,
and we talk with each other for a week, I guess. Talking.
Yeah, or a few days. I don't remember.
And I go we need to meet each other and hang out, see in person, because I like to deal with things in person. I don't like much a video internet interaction. I prefer things in person. People do therapy online. I like real people look in the eyes. And basically was there, and we met each other, and we had a nice day, going to a museum and a park. We had lunch. I planned a little thing for our day.
My whole thing when I moved there and kind of didn't know how long I was going to stay, I went to learn Portuguese and I taught English. And, I downloaded Tinder just to meet other gay men, in the area. I had no expectations of anything because I didn't even know how long I would be in the country. And then Kilder and I matched, and we talked, and we had one of those experiences where that first date ended up being all day. We were together for 8 hours, and the next day I had already made plans with a new friend, and then I invited him along. We spent all day together again, and one thing kind of led to another, and before I knew it, we had started a relationship in a country I didn't know how long I was going to be in, so but clearly it worked.
In the early stage of a relationship, when you get together for something, and at the end of the time together, your overwhelming feeling is, I want more of this, please. I love that feeling.
Yeah.
How is Brazil overall in terms of LGBTQ acceptance?
So when I first moved here, I heard a lot Brazil being dangerous, being not a safe place to go out. And I think everywhere could be a little dangerous, but I try to compare Rio, a big city, New York. It's a huge city with a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
We have a nice place, we have bad place. So I would say it's not a dangerous place, but everywhere could be dangerous if you think about we have everything everywhere.
When I was there was a big pride celebration, just on the street, and there was people as far as the eye could see. So I think from what I know and what I've seen in Brazil, there's a huge LGBTQ population that's very visible, but there's also something that I've always admired in Brazil is I feel there's a couple really mainstream pop artists who are drag queens, and I mean top 40 charts constantly, some of the biggest names out in music, right? And I feel that's not something we necessarily see here in the US.
Give me some names.
Pablo Vittar, Gloria Groovy.
Yeah.
Some that kind of come to mind. Whenever they have a new single, it'll be on the radio.
And what does loving out loud mean, either here or in Brazil?
It's a smaller wedding. And we love to dance at weddings. We love to kind of celebrate like that. But I remember there was kind of a moment where I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't really know these people here. I don't know if I want to invite any kind of like potential issue or look. And Kilder was like, who cares? And so he kind of helped me push there. And I think just like getting over that hill was like, you know what? Who does care? And maybe there is someone here that could be inspired by that or find some meaning in that. And so I think it's just, not being afraid if you feel safe, not being afraid to be who you are with your partner in public.
I am about to grab my laptop here, and we are going to experience the wheel of questions.
Okay.
We'll do one apiece. All you got to do is click the wheel, and it will land on a topic. I will explain what it means.
Okay. I'm scared.
Yes, as well you should be. The topic is meet cute, and we kind of already covered that with Tinder, but let's modify that just a little bit to be that first moment. There's the way you relate to somebody through an app. It's not the same as the two of you sitting there next to each other. So tell me about that moment when it went to the real world.
Well, from my perspective, so I was still learning Portuguese. I thought I was fluent, because I'd studied for a year on my own in New York where I was living. And then I got off the plane and I remember speaking to native Brazilians and being like, oh, I don't know anything. But it was after a week or two and I was at a school, learning Portuguese, 8 hours a day. But I remember like our first time we met, there was a bit of a communication barrier. So I feel like there was just this level of anxiety or not knowing if the other person really understood. And, but at the same time, it felt like easy for me to be around you, even if we couldn't fully communicate. And I knew enough to like we could have a conversation, but it wasn't as intricate as it could be now. And so I just remember liking being around your energy, and it was really easy. And I know I wanted to see you again, but it was kind of funny. I remember being like, okay, like we did the one plan that we had planned, and we both were kind of like lingering, well, let's find something else. And it was, let's find something else. And we were in a random park. And then it was just kind of like, it was funny. It was sweet.
Did you find the language barrier to be, how much English at that point had you had?
No, I didn't know that much English at the time, so I would not be able to speak with him in English. So I remember he had like a very cute accent. I miss the accent.
Yeah. Well, to my credit, I've worked hard to get rid of it.
Okay, let's hear.
Qual é a sua comida preferida? What's your favorite food?
I agree. Cute accent. All right.
Yeah.
It's spinning. Are you familiar with the concept of a spirit animal?
Not really.
Okay. If you were to sort of be seeking a higher level of consciousness and you imagine an animal that would guide you there, that you would speak to, and that would speak back to you, what would that animal be?
I think it would be like a bird, because like the freedom, like to fly and go anywhere, and be able to like see a lot of different things and a lot of different like how you say paisagens,
like scenery.
Yeah, like scenery, like nice things that we can see like from here.
Different perspective.
Perspective.
And?
I guess maybe this speaks to our relationship. I would also choose a bird. I think I would choose an owl. I feel like every day I could have a different favorite animal. I love animals, but I've always really appreciated owls. And I think similar answer, I like that they can fly and offer a different perspective, and that they're, around at night, which we typically aren't. And so there's that other perspective as well.
Are you a night person?
Not now that I'm a teacher. No,
Yeah,
I'm in bed
no.
by like 9:30, so not anymore. But yes, like I love to go out and have fun. I can be up late when you don't have much going on. But I do really like the morning. I love the quiet of the morning. So it's I'm a morning person.
Today's episode of Transqat is brought to you by Sam Avery Media. Art is powerful. It's how we tell our stories, how we take up space, how we make the world see us. And that's exactly what Sam Avery Media is all about. The owner, Samuel Avery, is a trans photographer, artist, and filmmaker using art as advocacy, not just through his self-portraits, but through his editorial portrait work. Through his lens, Sam captures the raw, beautiful, and unapologetic truth of trans lives, turning our experience into art that speaks louder than words. Your story deserves to be seen. So let Sam help you bring it to life. Book your session now at samaverymedia.com.
Hi, Hi, I'm Kelly. Pronouns are they, them.
I'm Jesse. Pronouns are he, him.
So what brings you here tonight?
Just trying to like get out in the queer community a little bit more. We met in high school and we've been together since high school. So just trying to get more into the queer community as I come out and like find myself in like that non-binary spectrum.
Tell me about that journey. When did you decide that that's a term that applies to me?
So about a year and 9 months ago, I had a baby. And since having her, we met doing theater. So we've always been incorporated
What?
in.
Queer people in theater?
I know, crazy. So we've always been like very active in like the queer community. And I identify as bisexual. So we've always kind of been around it. But we're a very straight passing couple. Just trying to kind of like feel that out as I was like, having a baby. I went to an all-girls school and very traditional family. And so kind of trying to experiment more with like gender and everything has been very difficult and not out to a ton of people. But I think it's important to go through that and search that kind of situation and like find where I feel like the best fit is. It's just been, a little scary.
Have the parents been able to get on board to some extent?
His parents are aware, mine not so much, just because I just don't think they'd get it. And it's like one of those things where it's like, if you're not gonna like respect it and use the right pronouns and understand it, is it really worth my time and energy while I still kind of figure out what the best label is, I guess?
Let me just follow up on one of the things you said, which is that there's a straight presentation to you when you're in public spaces.
Yes.
Do you consider yourself as a queer couple?
I do. I think it's hard to see it that way because of how straight presenting we are. And it's more of, am I valid in these spaces? Struggling to find my place in events like this and other like pride events and things because I've lived my life so long presenting as a woman, having a baby, being in a straight passing relationship. And I think that it's hard when I feel like so many other people have been like this for so long. They're out and they're proud and they're excited. And I feel like, okay, well, if you just look at me, you would never really kind of know, I guess. So is me being in these spaces like valid where you can just be yourself and be passionate about things and not have to, mask yourself, I guess. I think like on top of being queer and that also like that neurotypical kind of mindset as well is a hard thing because you're living in this world where it's assumed that you're straight. It's assumed that you're neurotypical. And if you're not either of those things, then you have to kind of mask who you are and not show those awkward parts of you or those parts that people don't understand or that you'd have to kind of
or are going to be
explain.
uncomfortable around.
Exactly. And like you kind of put yourself in like these boxes. And for me, it was just easier to keep myself in that box than to kind of be like, this box isn't great. I think I came out to him in like June or July and I'd been struggling with it since January of the year before. So I was struggling it internally by myself for a very long time. And we tell each other everything. We've been together for over 12 years now. So for me to hide something that big, he knew something was wrong. Like he knew something was off. And it was just one of those hard conversations to be like, hey, like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know how you feel about this. But I mean, you were just go with the flow like you always kind of are.
When you're in situations like that, when, you've got something you want to talk about and you're clearly picking up on the vibe that something's going on here, how do you handle that?
It's definitely been a really big learning curve. I was born and raised Roman Catholic every Sunday.
I'm so sorry.
So, I was just born and raised with a lot of the traditional teaching that I feel like a lot of people that were born and raised that way, they know what the teachings are or what they're supposed to be. And a lot of what it ended up being for me once I got to high school, where I also went to an all-boys Catholic high school as well, was that I really started to, once I left high school, I started to kind of go in the opposite direction where I labeled myself as not anti-religious, but anti-organized religion because I didn't like that I felt like I had to keep accepting what was the group idea. It's a good starting point for a small child, maybe, but I'm now old enough to make it my own. And what it came out to be for me as we finished high school, which was about the same time that we started dating junior year, was if it really doesn't impact me, why would it bother me? And that's really been one of just the guiding principles in my life of you can believe whatever you want to believe. If it's not hurting anyone, it's not hurting yourself or anyone else or the world around you or anything like that, then why do I care what you believe in? And so I felt like that mindset then played in very nicely when all of these changes started to come in, because when little things came up like, I think I like girls, I have no issue with that whatsoever. That ended up sparking some very interesting conversations about seeing other people and things like that, and how that, in my opinion, wouldn't even hurt me that much. And then that's just continued on since. So when we come home and we say something that along the lines of, I feel like I want to dress more masculine today. Okay, why would I care? And again, care as in be offended, be hurt, be angry, upset about that. That makes you happy, then that makes me happy. And so then when it started to progress towards, well, I think I want to wear a binder. Okay. Oh, I think I want to go by they, them. Well, maybe we can try he, him, or maybe we'll try he, they, or whatever.
It's so hard because he's so supportive that it makes you question if he's actually supportive.
Oh.
It turns into that, okay, I hear you, but internally I'm wondering what you're thinking. Because all you're telling me is, I'm so proud of you, you're doing a great job, I want whatever you want. I'm like, okay, but what do you actually feel? Because you're so fine with it, and the world isn't, it just makes me question.
So it's nice to have the support,
yeah.
But what is that grounded
exactly.
in? Exactly.
It's like he's so caring, but it turns into that, is it too much that it's not real?
That actually came to a conversation about a month ago where we had to talk about how there are things. So like one of my biggest things that you always ask is, are you mad at me? I have a constant mantra of I never get mad. I base it off of duration. So, mad to me would be you're holding it for more than a day. Staying with you, you're really holding on to that. For me, anger is a momentary thing.
I like that distinction, though, that anger, it's involuntary almost. It's like, okay, humans have emotions, I'm feeling this, but if I hold on to it, that becomes something different.
And it's not even ever really anger. It's more of that frustration.
It's that long-standing, like, I'm going to make this part of my personality. I'm going to identify as in opposition to this.
Last question. If raising a child in our society, even amongst queer couples, there tend to be gendered expectations.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
We are educators. We work in a field with kids with a lot of kids with autism, with primarily a lot of behavioral difficulties. And so we are in a very nurturing field in general. And so when we had my daughter, he was never that standoff father. He was always like in it, doing everything, whatever. And when like our families started to meet Hayden, they were like, wow, he is such a great father. He's like changing her diapers and he's feeding her. And we were like,
Hayden shaking his head
like,
over there.
Yeah, that's like what a parent, like what? We put her to bed together every night. It's never really like split down like what. I don't like to do the dishes because I have sensory issues. So like I'll give her a bath instead. But it's not like female type of role. So I do all of the motherly type of duties. Like we're not really like that. And I think that that's important for our daughter to see as well.
I'm Alexis Baldwin. I'm in my 20s, if you must know.
I wasn't going to ask.
Store owner.
My name is Chris Kilburn.
How did you guys meet?
We met on a dating app, actually, for the LGBTQ community. I guess it was also a kind of a meetup app.
We didn't expect it to turn into something long-term.
Okay.
And it immediately turned into something apparent that was...
Yeah.
There was an immediate trust.
At the time, I wasn't really expecting much. We didn't meet right away either, so it was kind of a lot of texting back and forth, mainly somebody texting me a lot, and I was maybe not as paragraph message texting back.
Which is the way I talk.
Which is how he talks, so it made it, quite... legitimately, once I was messaging him, I said, okay, this guy's not here to just see me once and that's it. He was very interested in getting to know me, even with my maybe not texting back right away because I was a little busy.
There are expectations for texting, and it can kind of determine where you are in a relationship as to how quickly you get a response.
That's exactly
Absolutely.
was my both of our worries, that we'd get almost so comfortable texting that it would seem weird when we actually saw each other in person, almost unreal. And it's been almost a social experiment for me because as you've noticed, I interrupt. But funnily enough, it's the first time I've had somebody that actually wants to listen to what I say.
Oh,
so I
that's
guess
wonderful.
it's the closest to love at first sight that I've had.
What was the app, by the way? What's this?
Tammy. It's called Tammy. It's an LGBTQ app. TAIMI. You can meet friends on that app. You can maybe find the one for you.
It's exclusively LGBT.
So as you're going through this, though, there's a point where you decide, okay, maybe this is somebody worth connecting to. Let's talk about that moment of connection. What was it for each of you that made you stop and think, maybe?
I believe you swiped first.
I did swipe completely unlocked. As I remind her over and over again, it was the lightning effect. Like, I immediately knew right away. I'm not somebody that's quick. I've never been in a serious relationship. 28, almost 28. I have never been in any sort of relationship that lasted more than a couple of weeks. Pushing 10 months, 9 months is by and far the best I've ever gone the distance. So, I mean, I knew that from the start, that was going to be the situation. There's no real way to describe it. It was more of a feeling. Instant.
The Thunderbolt.
The Thunderbolt, right.
And when
Chris came up, I had seen his photo, and then I always look at their bios. I think when you're on a dating app nowadays, it's very telling by a person's bio if they're going to be a waste of your time.
Right.
And Chris, I think one of the first things he says, I'm not going to have a conversation with you unless you're going to actually write me more than one sentence, which is hysterical because I wrote him, I think, 5 words. I said, your eyes are very beautiful. And he wanted a real conversation. It was something to do with the color of his eyes because they change. And I have brown eyes, so when people have light colored eyes, I just find them very stunning. And I said that to him and I thought, oh God, this guy's going to probably think, seriously, I said a real conversation and all you said was my eyes are beautiful. But he responded. And it took a minute for me. I had been doing the game a little bit to get back into the dating scene because I had been in a relationship prior, and it took me a minute, but he just kept going with these text messages. And I was like, okay, this guy's serious. He really wants to know who I am. And I think we finally took it off the app. And like I said, I didn't meet him for, I think, a little over a month is before we actually met in person.
So what clinched the deal?
He came here. We got on the train.
Never done that.
And he's never been on the train.
Ooh.
So we're in a long-distance relationship. I should start with that. So he's in Maine. I'm in Connecticut.
I seldom leave.
He got on the train. I was very nervous. I'm picking up this guy. He's going to stay over. I've never really met him, but we had been in such a good conversation. And I don't think I've ever seen somebody get so giddy just seeing me pull up in the car. Wow. And we went out for dinner, and he just... talked my ear off, and we had a great time. And after that, I went down to Maine. I got a hotel for my birthday, and I spent time, and he came back to Connecticut with me, and we just spent, I think, a little over a week together and just getting to know each other. Yeah.
The question that we're working off for the event is, given the current political situation and the culture wars, what does it mean to love out loud?
Because this is my first serious relationship, I can't use really any good reference. But I could say, if I were to explain my love on the stand in Game of Thrones, the first thing I would do is say, this was my first love and this will be my last. And I don't mean that in a captive way. Right. I mean this as, for me, written in stone. I don't like to do hypotheticals, but if anything were to change with her, it wouldn't change with me.
I think, like Chris said, it's very much, you're not going to go anywhere. People do change, and sometimes the biggest thing is you have to stay there with them, and you have to see it through. I think we're a little more old school. I might have said to him one day, because we were both eating some sort of an oatmeal type
in bed,
breakfast in bed, and I thought, oh God, we are the grandparents, the ones who stick through thick and and we just do it. And I think loving out loud, unapologetically, I started to through my transition, stopped caring what people said. If he wants to stick up for me, that's amazing. I'm not going to stop him because, quite frankly, I've had other friends who've heard things been said, and a lot of times they go, Alexis, did you hear that? And I go, no, legitimately, I have tuned out anything that people have said. Yeah.
And they're the vocal minority where we are. They're loud, but I find most of the times that we're in an establishment that people end up speaking up for us first. She's changed so many things about me without having to ask me, and that's what makes me feel, okay, I'm in the right place for the first time in my life.
The Transqat store is now open. Check it out at transqat.com/store. Currently, we're offering stickers and a bookmark designed by Transqat executive producer, the Lady Bethesda. We're starting small, but we'll add new designs soon. In the store, you can also see our sponsor packages.
Phrasing?
Sorry. Give them a quick ogle and sponsor an episode or 3. Thank you for supporting the show.
Hi, I'm Cordelia.
My name is Sarah. We're a couple. We
met on Tinder 3 years ago.
Yeah, we met on Tinder.
When you meet through apps, there are 2 moments of connection. There's whatever stops you from swiping, but then you also get to a point where you meet in real life. There's that connection too, and I'm assuming that's different.
Well, when I saw her picture, she had half red hair and half black hair, so I instantly was like, that's different. I don't know anyone that has cool hair like that.
For Sarah, I mean, she lived close, so that was a big thing that was driving this.
So you're not interested in travel, really, is what I'm learning.
Correct, yes. And then she also had a picture of a sparkly marijuana leaf temporary tattoo on her hand, and that's the one that got me.
It was really cute.
I think the main thing for us was the distance. She
Yeah.
lives like 15 minutes away,
Yeah.
and everyone else is like 100 miles
So
away.
far away.
So where was the meetup?
I picked her
Yeah, you
up,
picked me up, yeah.
and we went for a drive.
Yep.
Sarah said maybe 3
I
words.
was really awkward, and I thought I did so well, and I went home and I was like, yes, killed it. And she was like, remember how awkward you were? Like, damn it.
You did good enough for me to want to see you again.
Yeah, true. I did something right.
What was the conversation like on that drive? Because you and I, we're facing each other right now,
Right.
and we're talking. You can't really do that in a car.
I mean, it was a lot of just me trying to ask questions
Yes.
to learn more about her, and then like single word answers. Then we just kept hanging out, and there was a time, I mean, I have a picture of it. There was a time when I took her to hang out with my friend and my cousin, and just seeing the way that they all interacted and the way that she really just fit in right away. It was like, I was like, all right, that's the one.
And I felt like I could fit in right away, so it was an easy transition.
It's going to be 3 years on March 20th.
Yep.
There's what brings you together.
Right.
And then there's what keeps you together.
I think that we've really learned how to communicate with each other, like, very well. She listens to me and I listen to her, and I think a big part of the healthiness of our relationship is that we take breaks. Like, we can take space from each other, we can be in separate rooms, that kind of thing.
Sometimes that gets interpreted as go away,
Right.
and there's tension.
Right.
So we actually, both of us do suffer from mental health issues, and that was a big thing. Was we would talk with our therapists, and we would talk to each other about different communication ways that worked out well for us, different things like ways that communicating helped Sarah and certain communication methods that helped me. And I mean, I have borderline personality disorder, which is a big abandonment issue. So it took a lot of convincing that she wasn't going to leave me for the longest amount of time, and just constant communication. Every time that I was worried she was going to leave, she would just reassure me that's not true.
For sure, yeah.
Very consistent. And every time we would need to take a break, she would say, hey, I'm not leaving. I don't want you to feel like you're being pushed away or anything, but I just need some space. And yeah, we communicate very well. Just being entirely open with each other.
Yeah.
And how do you feel supported?
I
Or
mean-
do you? Are you a seething, boiling?
Do you feel supported?
I do know I feel very supported. I think that there's been a lot of things that I've gone through personally that even if it's something that maybe Cordy hasn't experienced that I have, or vice versa, we're able to empathize enough with each other that whether you fully understand it or not, you feel supported. And I feel like comfortable and safe in expressing whatever emotions I have.
5 years from now, where do you want to be?
Hopefully living in our own place.
With our own dog.
So dogs rather than cats.
Both.
Both, probably.
good.
But a
Okay.
dog first.
No, we
Yes.
love them all.
When you were doing the photo shoot
Yeah.
with Sam, it revolved around the chalkboard.
Yes.
And the question of, given how tough it is out there right now for queer people, what does loving out loud mean to you guys?
Well, what we thought together and what we had written on the chalkboard was to not feel like we have to adapt in order to make other people comfortable.
Because we also deserve to be comfortable.
Right. In just the way that we are, we don't have to hide or change just so other people feel okay.
As you say that, I think that's healthy for anybody. That's not
Totally.
just a queer thing.
Absolutely.
That's, you know what I mean?
It's
That's
just a human thing.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Be you.
Be you. Don't let other people stop you.
don't waste the time, don't waste the energy
Right.
on what are they thinking.
Exactly.
And I'm saying that to you casually as somebody who was closeted for 55 years. And that's pretty much all I thought about. And it's
And you
so...
don't get to be yourself.
Never.
It just
Never.
that's your constant battle in your head.
Yeah.
And you don't get a moment of
Like,
peace.
is this
You don't
really
get a
what
moment
life
of being
is?
yourself.
And that's exactly it. You're living in your head
Yes.
instead of in the world.
Right.
Exactly. Don't get to
awful.
experience life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It takes a little bit of determination.
Absolutely.
For sure.
But you do it a few times and you're like, this is easy.
Yeah, I'm
myself.
past it. That's so last week.
Yep, exactly.
My name is Sam, and this is Haley.
You just put together a remarkable event.
So we hosted a Love is Love event, and we just wanted to kind of bring community together with everything going on in the country right now, and to celebrate all forms of love, whether it's you and your partner, self-love, all of that kind of stuff. And I was doing Valentine's mini sessions, and Haley was doing candle painting, and we had a florist come in and do like a flower bar, and we had like a skin esthetician selling her like products and everything. So just a very community-driven kind of event.
In between conversations with people here, I was encouraged to write a letter to myself. And when it comes to things like that, it's hard for me to get past myself. But as soon as I did, I was there. I was really writing myself something that I hope would be comforting. And it was a really nice exercise. I was
Nice.
grateful to get to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that.
You were, so you were shooting couples specifically.
Yeah, so for the project Love Out Loud that I wanted to do, I wanted to get queer couples in to kind of just speak on their experience, their relationship, and answer the question, what is it like to love out loud in today's climate?
What did you see as you were asking them that? As they were sort of showing themselves to you through the lens?
Happiness, honestly. Like every single portrait that I took upstairs was just both of the parties in the couple were just like smiling and like very proud to be a part of it, number one, but also just to like showcase their love for each other, which was really sweet.
Tell me about how you make that work. What is queer love? What does loving out loud mean to you two?
I don't know. I think loving out loud looks different for every person and every couple. I think with us, we're not like a very PDA kind of couple, but that doesn't mean that we don't love out loud. And I feel like it's the small gestures and the things that we do for each other and just kind of like the everyday stuff. And like, I know one of the ways that I show love is, like I said, like the small gestures, just making little things. If we go on walks and stuff, like I make Sam like a tiny little bouquet of flowers out of random things that we like find outside as we're walking, or like Sam will take time and put together these little videos, kind of, you know, like romanticizing our life and showing like little clips of memories that we've had together. It's just little things that I feel like that are out loud to us that maybe may not seem out loud to other people, but it's the way, I don't know, it's just what works.
Well, you both create art.
Yeah.
So tell folks what you do as artists.
So I work with pottery and I do sculptures and kind of like natural things like that. Less so bowls and mugs and functional kitchen pieces, more so just kind of natural, whimsical sort of sculptures, whatever I can kind of forage outside and add my like clay features and clay elements onto them. So that's what I do with my art.
Well, I'm an editorial photographer, but I specialize mainly in documenting trans stories through my art and really trans people's experiences to life through editorial photo shoots.
Sam was on the show in season 1. We walked through an exhibit together, and then we talked again at an event at Pride Play. Yeah, which is a different vibe, but similar to this in that you brought queer folks together, and there was an exchange of ideas and increased awareness of, oh, that's part of the community too. This is...
Yeah, I think that's like one of the most important things to me as just a business owner is really being able to host events and bring community together, because for the longest time I didn't know any trans people, and I needed that to really be able to be in touch with my own transness and being able to like meet other trans people and hear about their stories and become friends with them. It's like, it's life changing, and it changed my life for the better. I now have like hundreds of trans friends at this point, just because of like my job and meeting clients and hosting events like this. I think that's like one of the most important things, is really bringing community together like that.
The three of us can and have in the past just talk forever. So instead, we're going to go to the wheel of questions.
The wheel of
the wheel. Yeah. Actually, could I get you to say that as if we were on Wheel of Fortune?
That's both of us.
Oh, wheel of questions.
So Sam, you're spinning the wheel first.
Spin?
You spin, and then I'll explain what it is.
Goodness.
Meet cute. I actually don't know it.
I mean, so we went to high school together.
Yeah.
Same grade or?
Yeah,
Yes.
same graduating class. We never really were friends in high school. We kind of crossed paths a few times, but we had a lot of overlapping friends. So like I was friends with people who she was friends with, and our friend groups would kind of overlap, so we would kind of see each other at like parties. But we didn't really get to know each other until after high school at this one party that we were both at.
It was freshman year of college.
Yeah, that was probably...
We both were back home for a party.
And we honestly just got to talking about Demi Lovato for like
hours.
2 hours. And we were just like vibing about the fact that we were both obsessed with Demi Lovato. And nothing really happened at that party, but we were both like, we both clocked the fact that we were like into each other, but like we were both
Nothing
just like
came
not.
from it.
Yeah.
I think both of us were like too scared to do anything. I think I ran away to find Madison and Carl outside, and those are two of our friends, and I started to tell them what was happening, and then Sam came outside too, and I was like,
because you could feel there was something
yeah, like
there.
we were just talking about Demi, like it was very casual conversation, but like I think you could feel it there, but nothing came from that.
And then we just
for a
like
few
DM'd,
years.
I think, on like Twitter here and there, like about
Just casual
getting tattoos
stuff.
or something, and then nothing happened.
Yeah,
But
for, like,
because we were
3 or
both
4
in like
years.
college and had our own things going on. But then I transitioned and I started a job at a restaurant as a manager. And one of my mutual friends said that Haley was looking for a job, and I was like, sure, I'll hire her.
And she had texted me being like, do you remember Sam from high school? He needs an employee. And I was like, sounds great. I need a job.
So I interviewed her and I hired her on the spot. But then it's all, you work together and...
We worked in a restaurant together, so it goes pretty quickly from there. That's the meat.
I gotcha.
Yeah, a longer meat.
Haley?
He says first kiss. So we actually have a cat to thank for our first kiss.
Oh, okay, I'm in.
Sam at the time was living with some roommates. This is when we were working at the restaurant together, and Sam lived kind of near the restaurant, and one of his roommates had a cat, and we were obsessed with this cat, honestly, but we were just like sitting in bed one night, and we were kind of like in this weird, are we friends, are we flirting, like whatever. Neither of us had crossed the line yet, and Sam eventually just blurted out, the cat was sitting on his lap and we were kind of near each other, and Sam just blurted out at the cat, he goes, Atachi, you're really killing the vibe. I'm trying to make a move and you're in the way. Like I'm trying to make a move on Haley and you're cock blocking right now. That's what he said. He goes, Tachi, you're cock blocking me. I'm trying to kiss Haley. And so I'm cracking up. And then we were just staring at the cat. And I was like, Tachi, you just kind of have to move. I don't know. Like.
So I think I picked him up.
And then he
just threw
pushed the
him out
cat. And then we kissed.
Oh.
But yeah, we have Tachi to thank. Shout out Toch.
That is a masterful line.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really good. I have so much to learn from you. So I'm going to put a little spin on the question of the evening. You have a degree of a public face, and a lot of your self-portrait work is about the fact that you get this wave of awful through social media. So when I ask you about what is it like to love out loud, it's really different than when I'm asking other people, because you put yourself out there and you get these hateful, loathsome comments. What does it mean to love out loud when you know there's going to be negative feedback?
For me, it's like being that visible and clear sense of love for other people and showing that like love is possible for trans people, and that kind of makes me feel a little better knowing that we can be that depiction of love for people. But in a certain extent, obviously it is scary knowing that we are being so vulnerable posting just ourselves, really, online, and all of the hate that I do get. I mean, we recently made a post just like putting up our pride flag, and thousands of people were just like hate comments on the pride flag. The fact that we just like we're putting it up. To kind of counter that, it is good to know that like we are this clear kind of sense of, hey, like trans people deserve love, and we are that example of that for people. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from just like my followers just saying thank you for showing me that I deserve love and that like I can get that one day, and that makes me feel really good. So
yeah. Haley, how much of that weight of that cultural shit that's going on right now, how much of that weighs on you? Because it's part of the relationship, but it's not your part of the relationship.
I feel like that's somewhere where I struggle to balance a little bit, just because, like you said, that isn't my personal experience. You know, like I can empathize and understand and sympathize as much as I can with Sam and with trans people like that, but I will never be in those shoes and be experiencing those specific hate comments and what they target in the way that they do. You know, some do target me, some do affect me, but I'm not the directly affected person in this. And I don't know if this is a privileged statement, but sometimes I wish I was, just so like the load is off of him, because it's so heavy on him, and that makes it like, I don't know, it just makes it heavy on me too, to see and to know that in order for him to achieve his dreams, and in order for him to continue to do like this incredible like advocacy work that he does, and to show, like he said, he is an example and he is a role model for people, but it's a double-edged sword. Like there's always, unfortunately, gonna be those hate comments with it right now, at least. So it's a hard balance for me, in the sense where like I want to support him, and I feel like I do the best that I can for that, but it's just still a weird feeling knowing that I am a step outside of it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know, I have that weird privilege with it.
In terms of that public versus private, has there ever been a shoot, and Sam, you usually come up with themes of stuff you want to explore. Has there ever been a shoot where like midway through you were like, I don't know that I want to make this public? I was really moved by the series In the River, the white dress in the river. Yeah,
Lady of the Lake.
I think that was the first time that it struck me that being part of an artistic duo means you kind of have to be public too.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I feel like I joke about it, but like I am not a very like social media heavy, like public kind of person. I kind of like to be like my little hermit and just make my art and push it out into the world. And like prior to Sam, like I hadn't posted on social media or Instagram in maybe 3 or 4 years. I was not into getting my picture taken, like anything like that. And even with, that's just something about me, but like even with Sam, I feel like I went from like years of not wanting to have my picture taken to like 3 or 4 months. And like I had, even before we started dating, I had hired him to do this silly little Christmas photo shoot for my, you know, the JCPenney's like awkward family photo.
Oh yeah.
My siblings and I did that. And I hired Sam like even before we started dating, just because I feel like he gives off this comfortable energy. And it was something that like I was comfortable with. And to this day, like I think the only photos that I do like of myself are, not to boost your ego, but are the ones that Sam. So I think it's kind of been a strange, like a quick, like a weird learning curve for me too, almost, to be so not anti-social media, but it's just not something that comes naturally to me, like being so public.
What does that feel like for you, Sam? How do you draw that line between what you make public of this relationship and what you don't?
I think for me, it's really just documenting us together living our life. And that's something that I do for myself anyways. So like when we are like shooting the little videos or photo shoots that we do shoot, it's really just like me setting up my tripod and us just like going to hang out and like run around on a lake or something like that. Like it's really just us documenting our life together. And I definitely think it's been hard adjusting as someone who is so prominent on social media, dating someone who also is not. Feel bad sometimes because it's like, oh, are you okay with me posting this or whatever, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's really just like documenting our relationship, and it's like having those memories to hold on to too. And like I've literally yesterday it was our 3-year anniversary, so I made like a montage of videos of us, which was really nice to have. And like for me, like I kind of show my feelings through art, so it helps me kind of, I'm really bad at talking about my feelings, so
that's what art is, right? It's you take the emotions and you put it out there in a way that other people can take it in and understand it and relate to. My friends, I love you very, very much. Thanks for this evening. Thanks for sitting with me. Here's to lots more projects together.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being a part.
Sincere thanks to all the couples who participated. The first meeting of the Prism Book Club, which will be held at the East Haven Public Library, is scheduled for Wednesday, February 26th. Now, this is an event designed specifically for the queer community. We're reading Broken People by Sam Lansky, and you can register at the library's website. SojiCon is the largest conference for LGBTQ youth in the country, and it's happening next month at UConn. Join us next episode as we talk to Robin McCallan and Beatrice Hamill about what SojiCon has to offer. This has been Transqat. I'm Clare McCarthy. Thank you for listening, and let's talk soon.
This is Sadie McCarthy. I'm Claire's niece.
And you've just been listening to Transqat. It is made by one of my favorite people in the world, Clare McCarthy.
Transqat is a production of Transqat Enterprises, LLC.
Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.
Join us on the web at transqat.com.
That's TRANSQAT.com.
QAT.com.
QAT.com.
There you'll find links to Transqat, the blog,
writing projects,
speaking engagements,
and our PayPal donations page.
Please consider supporting our mission with your monkeys.
Your monies.
Your monies.
Not monkeys.
Please consider supporting our mission with your monies. Any monkeys will be gratefully received as well.
Follow Transqat on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
On TikTok, we are at The Real Transqat.
Want to tell your story on air?
Or ask Claire a question?
What is the deal?
She has all the answers.
Or suggest a guest or topic for an upcoming episode.
Use the contact page at the website
or email her directly at crmtranscat@gmail.com.
crmtranscat@gmail.com.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.